Angie, can you do roll call?
Sure.
Oh, that's okay.
Everybody Chair West, absent. Vice Chair Miller-Gervais.
Here.
Ed Contreras is absent. Diane Foster. Here. Cameron Fox is absent. Taylor Bunru.
Here.
Rich Miller is absent. Bob Silverthorpe.
Here.
Maurice Bingley.
Here.
All right. Very
Okay,
good.
thank you. Did everyone have a chance to read the minutes? Yes. Any amendments? No, I have one amendment there at the beginning. We were talking about how we would change possibly the sign up process
Yes.
for comments. And it was Rich who actually said that he was not in favor of having a formal sign up, and I think you had written that it was me.
Oh,
It was
okay.
Rich who said it, and then I think Chris had seconded Rich's opinions. I was the contrarian, saying that I wanted there to be a formal sign up similar to city council.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
So Rich said he,
Just replace my name with Rich.
okay,
He's the one who said that he thought it would be too formal to have a sign up.
okay, great, I will make that
And then
change.
Bob, you had an amendment too.
In the, on the first page, Angie, right above where it says number 5, business chair, on that line, you said looking, you typed something twice.
Oh.
See what I'm talking about?
Oh, good.
I'm sorry, on number 5,
No, it's not on number 5, it's the sentence above number 5.
okay.
And it starts off suggested looking at dates.
Oh, gotcha, okay. Very good, thank you.
Do we have any other amendments?
Bob is checking his notes.
All right. All right. Do we have a motion to approve as amended? Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Minutes are approved as amended. All right, number 4, board member announcements. Does anyone have anything that they want to announce or share or talk about?
Yes,
This is an open forum. Perfect. Go for it, Lori.
So the Boots and Bling first annual fundraiser from the Sherwood Police Foundation will take place this Saturday at the Art Center from 5 to 8. I believe there are still I heard a rumor that there are still a couple tickets left. I think one of the tables got put back in. They're $40 a ticket. Each individual ticket has 1 drink ticket with it. If you want to buy the whole table for 6, it's $300, and each person gets 2 drink tickets per. And there are some really nice things going up for auction at the event, so we would love to see you if you felt like coming and joining us.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I want to say that the chief sent out that legal guide to handling disruptive people in public meetings. I think it's great that you guys send that stuff out. It helps us keep up with things that are happening, and the knowledge of the issues that we encounter is good for us to have. So I think that's good, and I have something else, but it's under about traffic safety, so I'll wait till we get to that.
Okay. All right. Anyone else?
I was going to say a comment about a couple of months ago. It was brought up in the meeting that there should be more, with the SRO being open, position being open, that there should be more presence at the schools. I think it was brought up from the audience. So I was just going to say that I actually do drop off at 2 schools in the morning, and every single morning I see police officers. So I wanted to comment at the time, but I didn't want to be contradictory at the time during an open session, or during the comment session, I guess. But I did want to make that comment that I see them every single morning. So thank you for that.
All right, let's move on to new business. So we were going to continue the discussion regarding changes to the sign-up sheet, or signing up for comments. Does anyone have any other thoughts or comments about that? Anything that you want to change? To refresh everyone's memory, we talked about putting the Sherwood City meeting rules at the back table. And there was a discussion about whether or not we should have a similar process to city council. So I think that was the 2-page handout that city council has at the back of the room, and then people sign the sheet to sign up, but they also have to sign that form saying that they agree to adhere to the rules.
I don't know if we need that. I like the idea of having the rules back there. I like the idea of having it be made clear that there's a, you know, 4-minute limitation, but that's in the rule. I don't really think that we need to have people sign up. We don't have that many people that come that often. I think that if it becomes an issue, I think that was a one-off. I mean, we've been here for more than 2 years now. That was the one and only time that's been an issue. I think that if it becomes more of an issue in the future, then we can revisit it. But I think that for now, we don't need it, would be my thought.
Anyone else have comments?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was not here for the meeting, but I watched the entire meeting on the video. And from watching the whole discussion, I was a little confused about what we ended up with, what the group really wants to have happen. And I know where the topic came from, obviously, a 4-minute situation. And, but I have a question to ask. And it goes back to the fact that I'm kind of confused about what was decided on. If a person is giving public comment and there is nobody else that, let's say, that wants to give any comment, is it acceptable now that that person can be given more than 4 minutes? Or are we going to just absolutely cut it off, assuming there's nobody else who wants to say anything?
So my recollection is that we did not come to a firm decision on what we wanted to do, which is why this topic was on the agenda again. But I recall Josh recommending the same rules that city council follows. So they get 4 minutes, and then at city council's discretion, they can add another minute to the comments. I think making them 5 minutes, unless there was there was a big issue that was being discussed, or there were some concessions as to whether or not they could extend that 5 minutes.
I thought the extra minute was more for a question answer,
Oh, yeah, true.
not
question
for
answer.
the person to continue to speak for another
Right.
minute, but for question answer.
Yeah, that's true. Question answer.
So I would not want to see us extend it beyond the 4 minutes.
Reason being, because then this is the lawyer side of me that's coming out here, because if you set that precedent, how do you explain to someone who wants another 4 minutes or however long that they can't have it because, you know, so-and-so got it last session, and it's not in your rules that say that you can extend it only if. I think we should stick to what the rule says.
I read the spirit of the rule though to say if there is a good conversation or good dialogue, or there's a particularly controversial topic being discussed, that it is okay to extend the time.
I didn't print it out. Did we have it?
I was gonna, pass it out to everybody.
I'm with you, Lori, in terms of there has to be some kind of standardization. That's how I feel. We can't apply rules differently to different people, but at the same time, because we don't generally have very many people here, and part of our job is to seek and get feedback from the community, and this is one of the few ways we get to do it, I'm hesitant to have a 4-minute rule.
The situation that we had was probably a one-off situation, very unusual,
Sure.
I think. Yeah, remember I said, there's nobody else that wants to give any comment at the meeting. If there is, then maybe we're going to stick with the 4 minutes. But I think it ought to be a prerogative of the chair, given what the topic is that's being discussed, to extend that a little bit. I don't see, 4 minutes or 5 minutes, 60 seconds is not a big deal. I don't know that much more is going to be added to what the citizen is saying if you give them 60 more seconds. But I think there are certain things that come up. They certainly have come up in the city council meetings, and I don't think that we should be stuck forever for that. I recognize the precedent situation, but let me ask you this question then. suppose we have several people that are in attendance, and one person wants to talk more than 4 minutes, and the next person says, I would like to give my 4 minutes to Sally or Joe. Are we going to allow that?
If that happens at city council meetings, does anyone know?
It hands off to the next person.
Yeah.
It's typically a written document that they'll just, wherever they end in their 4 minutes, the second
Mhm.
person will pick up.
So the other person will pick up. I recall one, this had to do with the protesters that were there on Sunset, that family that was having a problem, and father handed it off to the wife, who handed it off to one of the kids. I mean, it just went on for a long time. And if that is allowed, what is the problem with giving somebody themselves a few more minutes?
Sure.
Well, because it says right here, not to the contrary.
You're not.
It says the chair of a meeting may have the ability to modify, meeting procedures on a case-by-case basis when especially complicated issues arise or when the body is involved in extraordinary dialogue, but only after receiving the advice and majority consent of the body. So there is, it does give you the ability to extend, but only if everybody, I guess, votes.
Well, that's kind of similar to how it happened that night, right?
Mhm.
Bob
It
was
is.
like, okay, if I'd like to hear what you have to say, and you look to all of us, does everyone agree, can we go ahead? So it's sort of the way that we handled it. We didn't have confirmation on the 4 minute, and we were being pushed on that, and it was hard to respond when we didn't have this in front of us.
Mhm.
But I think that second part, we did actually handle in that manner.
I would agree. I would agree. That's right.
All right,
So I think that, given all this, I think that the chair should have the ability to extend the 4 minutes up to 8 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever the chair feels is an appropriate time.
with the agreement of the rest of the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine with me, Lori.
Well, I have a question before we go there. Because further down, it says comments beyond the 4-minute limit may not be included in the record of the meeting. So what does that mean? Does that mean that they turn it off, or?
Maybe it means if they talk for an hour, it's too much. It's too much to type.
Well, it says may not be, it's not will not be.
No, I know. So what does that mean? Is my question.
Maybe it's someone who's pushing the 4-minute limit without permission to do so. That, I think if given permission, they would continue to record the comments, but if not given permission, in continuous talk, they'd probably leave it out of the record.
I'm not sure what that means.
I don't know.
Whether Angie stops taking notes after 4 minutes, whether we turn the video off after 4 minutes.
Do you know?
I think, I can confirm that with Sylvia, but I don't know for sure.
Ty, what do you think? Have you been in meetings, city council or otherwise, where a person's been on over 4 minutes?
Yeah, I've never much more than 5 at best. I mean, there's some that they've given leeway, but at a point, even in a hot debated topic, they will cut them off. But they also sign and have this in front of them knowing before they sit down that that's what they're limited to, so. If you're gonna follow this, then it's easy to follow that guideline.
The only discussions that I've been in president meetings that when people wanted to talk longer were at the Walmart discussions at the city council. Huge crowd, a lot of people who wanted to talk. And in a case like that, I think the 4 minute has to be there here too, so everybody will have a chance to talk. But I think for, was it the planning commission and this board are the only 2 entities that where we really have citizens. And anyway, I don't know if we'll settle this tonight, but that's my opinion, is that you ought to have the ability to.
I think she does. I just read the rule.
Good.
So I'm hearing us say, I think, unless there are other comments, that we're okay following this, keeping the 4 minutes. We're gonna go with the recommendation from Josh, and the chief had also said he would like to keep it consistent. Okay. And then it will be at the discretion of the board and the chair as to whether or not we extend it past the 4 minutes.
With the advice of majority consent of the body.
Yeah, with the board, yeah.
Right.
Okay, and then we do not want people who want to make comments, we don't necessarily want them to have to sign this, but we do want this at the back.
I think we should maybe put a copy at the table too.
I do have one.
Okay. No, at this table.
The
Oh.
table front.
Correct, yes.
So that if they come up to talk, they can see that there too.
All right. So, is there a motion to, do we have to motion? I don't know.
We have to, it's already in the rules.
Okay, so just keep the rules as is. All right, done. All right. So we talked about this at the last meeting as well, doing some form of online survey or other suggestions for gathering citizen input regarding traffic. And I know, Bob, you had, issues, concerns, and visions, but it was specifically, I'm
So is this
moving
all
ahead.
one?
No, we're going to B, sorry. Well, I guess it kind of is all one, because Chris had suggested doing an online survey, I think specific to traffic. But let's take them one at a time. Online survey and/or suggestions for gathering citizen input regarding issues, concerns, or vision and/or vision for the Sherwood PD. Any further discussion on that? I have some comments and notes from Chris. But does anyone else want to share or add anything from last week's discussion or last month's discussion?
Did we have much luck with the online surveys?
So Ty, have you guys done any online surveys in the past 3 years or so besides the Matrix one?
Not in the last 3 years, no. It's probably been just outside that. We did, it has to have been at least 2 years, we started the door-to-door surveys. So we got a small sampling of that, but we were never able to get, the numbers that we wanted, just time constraints, personnel. So to answer your question right now.
And I think, if I recall correctly, the Matrix survey, the online version had like 370 or so responses.
Yeah, not many.
So is it something that we want to further explore?
Well, does it cost money to put these surveys together?
Yep, so the chief in some email exchanges said that it would likely be that they would employ some kind of firm or service to do a survey, but that would have to be approved through city council.
I don't
So-
see that being very cost effective. I mean, with the results that we've gotten in the past, our best avenue of getting information was to just go out and talk to people at the events. I still think that was our most productive use of our time and our resources. It just, having it online, how do you direct people to it? And even if you do let them know it's there, you just don't do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's better to just spend the time and go meet the people where they are and talk to them.
Other thoughts?
Do you think a Google's form would work? There's a thing called Google's form where people can enter in their names and then their comments, and then Google sorts it out, so you have like a list from people, information, and comments. Do you think that would maybe work? That slashes the cost because it's free to use, and it would be a survey that's accessible to almost anybody because it works on mobile devices and everything.
Yeah, I think the cost is coming from the development of the questions and making sure that we're asking the right questions to get the answers that we want or to get the information that we want, not necessarily the platform. Because I think the city owns like a Survey Monkey or something platform already, but we have to check into that. Ty, do you know?
I believe we do, yeah. We've sent out several.
So I think it's actually the time to develop the survey and do the validation and the testing and the results.
And then my second thing, would you want to spread this to the high schools, so the high schoolers can put in input as well? Without, like, putting up a flyer up in the high school that maybe will gather interest for people who want to put in their input on this? Do you
Well-
agree on this, I think?
Yeah, my guess is that it's open to any Sherwood citizen. I think it depends on what we're looking to collect and what the purpose that is, the objectives, what data we're trying to get. I don't also have a clear sense of how this is going to get at anything different than what we had been doing last summer.
Right.
I don't think online surveys work very well unless the topic is a hot button and people really have a a passion for whatever the topic is. I mean, let's face it, we all get surveys. You get when you take your car in to the dealer to be serviced, you get a survey, how was everything? People, other companies send you surveys. Every time you order something from Amazon, you get a survey, how was the packaging, stuff like that. Most people don't mess with that. They don't have time to do it, and they just shrug it off. I think what we have done in the past, going out and talking to people, is a real advantage, because then when they start talking about something, you can follow up with questions that are pertinent to the topic. Whereas on an online survey, you can't. It is what it is. I think what we did was fine, and I think particularly if the subject is traffic safety, I think personal one-on-ones or one-on-twos are the best way to go.
So we were also, I guess I was digging through the matrix stuff a little earlier this week, and it was interesting because the online survey, 74% of the respondents said that traffic wasn't an issue in Sherwood, but then when you look at further down the matrix, did the in-person session, traffic was an issue, that the in-person session, that was a theme that came out of that session, the wanting to address traffic issues. So I thought it was interesting, the difference in the data. Okay, so I think I'm hearing that we do not, or we're not moving forward with an online survey at this time. We do not recommend we move on forward with an online survey. Yeah. Agreed. Taylor? Yeah. So
Sorry, just as a side comment, it is an interesting comment though from Taylor to think of something creatively about how to engage the youth in the high school population, because I feel like if you follow Facebook and Nextdoor, you can actually kind of figure out where people's complaints are. I mean, of course, some have louder voices than others, but that tends to be the adult population who's venting about cars getting broken into, or people speeding on the street, or that's all over the social media. But I don't think we know necessarily what the youth is sort of, what are their hot topics? What are they thinking? Which would be different than the adult population too. So maybe it's even, this is probably something of a separate direction, but maybe we even think about future focus on the youth and figuring out sort of what their feedback is and how to engage them.
I can say it's probably the information's not being reached to the high schoolers, because they're sometimes posted on the community info page, but there's only a couple of high schoolers on there, and it's not advertised in any of the schools. It's not advertised largely on social media. So I think it's not reaching as many high schoolers as it should be. Because I don't personally see it, and I'm following everything on there. So if you compare me following everything on Drew to a high school that only likes the police department page on Facebook, you don't get that many advertisement to the youth.
So are we trying to understand more about the traffic issues, or are we trying to understand more about what the community wants from the police department?
I thought it was more an issue of what does the community want? And the traffic issue was part of that.
If you look through the matrix today, again, there's a whole bunch of data there that we could start pulling themes out of and trying to talk to the community more and have more focused conversations. I mean, there's a whole bunch of data that already sits there. Whether it was obtained in the most scientifically sound way is another question, but I don't think that us walking the streets is going to be scientifically sound either, so. Do you want to revisit the matrix data, or do you want to just move forward with trying to come up with other mechanisms to collect our community data?
Everybody that I've talked to about traffic safety says it's a problem. Granted, maybe 74% of the matrix survey said it's not a problem. But I guarantee you that if you go around and talk to people one-on-one, they will say it is a problem. Somebody's going to get killed, I can tell you, where I live. I live on Sunset up there in Sherwood View Estates, and there's a long road leading up McKinley. And there's a sign right at the start of the hill that says, "Kids are playing, be careful." And people zip up there, and the first left is Whitney and they cut the corner, and they're going fast. They don't look to see if there's anybody there, and if someday some kid's gonna get hit, and it's gonna be pretty bad. I don't have an answer, just like nobody has an answer on what do you do, but I don't think anything can happen with traffic safety unless there's a consequence. When I was still working, we taught a class, a course called Performance-Based Leadership. And part of that was a segment on what we call ABC. It was antecedent, behavior, and consequence. Why do people do what they do? The antecedent is somebody is, I'll give you an example. Somebody's going to get an invitation to go back to their high school reunion. So that's what they want. The behavior is they start losing weight. And the consequence is they'll look better for all their classmates by doing that. But for speeding, they want to get someplace quickly. The behavior is to drive fast, and the consequence is not there. They get there quickly, it's in the future, and it's the same thing as smoking. Why do people smoke? They smoke because they like to, they like the taste of the tobacco, whatever. And they still knowing that it can kill you, they still do it. Why? Because the consequence is way in the future. Unless there were a quick consequence, like guaranteed getting a ticket, and that's not going to happen, then because there aren't enough officers to watch every corner, I don't think it can be done. It's all an education thing. And if we have the time and the money and the interest in this community, then maybe something would happen. And it goes back to that community policing thing that you saw. So it's a tough subject. I think if you ask people, what do you think about traffic safety is a real issue here, I think they would say yes, it is. If you ask them, what should we do about it, nobody knows the answer.
Ty, do you want to talk about traffic enforcement right now and what you guys are doing, and if that's changed over the last year or two?
I don't know if it's changed. Traffic safety has always been an issue within law enforcement. I mean, that's the big umbrella, because I'll talk to one person and their traffic concerns are distracted drivers and texting. Down the street, it's running the stop sign. The next neighbor over is the speeder. And so it can be a gamut of issues that we have to try and address. So when people come, and we get a lot of phone calls, and quite frankly, we send out a lot of what we call focus patrols. So that's one of the things that we will utilize here is a citizen will call and say, for example, Houston is notorious for the stop sign issues. Houston, Lindley, people not stopping in conjunction with the speeders. And so we'll get citizens down there that say, hey, a lot of speeders, we'll go down and sit, and the issue that arises in a lot of these neighborhoods is this perception of speed becomes a reality that they are excessive and they are a danger to the people that are living there. But when we get there trying to enforce this, and we have data, because we put out lines as well, we put out traffic lines to collect not only when and how often traffic is there, but it captures the speed. So we'll know at 7 a.m. 1,300 cars went through, and the average was 19 miles an hour, you know, with 3 over that, and maybe 1 over 30 miles an hour, for an example. So we get in these neighborhoods and we put these things out, and the problem for us is there may not be a real speeding problem. It's just that perception of that car looks fast.
Sure.
My kids are out here. So it makes it difficult for us to enforce it when in reality we can't arrest somebody for 22 and 25. We got the stop signs, we got the texting, and those are challenging. All these things can be very difficult, especially in this city, because there's not a lot of places for our officers to sit and observe. And you couple that with the fact that at best we have 2 on probably during the day. For example, tomorrow we'll have our motorcycle and a supervisor on. That is going to be who's on the street from 6 a.m. until 2 p.m. And so we're not going to allow our motorcycle to be out there. We're going to have to put them in a patrol car. So you take away some of that. Now that doesn't mean that just because you're in a car you can't do law enforcement and speed enforcement or stop sign enforcement. It's just it's a bit of a challenge for us in that But to your point, we have the stop signs, we actually have 2 trailers out there, so somebody will call and say, hey, just cars are zipping through here. Duty. Park on both sides of that road. You have like a very small channel to get through there, and people can come through there, and it looks like they're clipping along there pretty well, and we'll put a trailer out there. For the most part, most people are law abiding in the 25-mile-an-hour zone, but it's difficult. I mean, 25's fast through there, but we still, our hands are tied sometimes on those kind of things. A lot of texting, a lot of issues with young adults, teens through the 20s and even older. And now they're being creative, they're being deceptive. I mean, how many people are like this? Well, we can't see what they're doing. We know what they're doing, but we can't prove it. The phone down under their lap. So, pedestrians, crosswalks. Unfortunately, was it 2-3 years ago, we had the incident where the gentleman died. And so, the city now has a crosswalk there. We have some blind citizens here who we try to accommodate for their safety as well and walking in. And so anything that comes up, we try to address it as best we can. The other thing is we're challenged with engineering. A lot of people like speed bumps. I mean, they do slow people down to an extent, but they also prohibit fire from getting where they need to because those trucks and engines can't go over those bumps. And so there's a lot of things that would be out there. We got opposite photo red light. So we've got a lot of things that we're out there trying to tackle this with. And to your point, the education and that enforcement piece, we can write citations. And how low do we bring that threshold? Do we start writing people for 27 and a 25?
Depends on who you talk to.
Yeah. And that's that. And to some people, that's what they
Right.
want. And to others, it's like, holy smokes, So I think we're tackling it as best we can. It's always been, in the 23 years I've been doing this, traffic safety has always been a major concern. It just depends on what day and in what neighborhood is that hot button that we have to address. And so I wish we had a magic wand to fix it, but the surveys are tough because it depends on what's going on. We would have done a survey right after that fatality over there off of Langer Farms. We would have probably had a high response with pedestrian safety and pedestrian crosswalks. That's kind of died down. Even when the cameras went in, people were heightened and aware of traffic safety. So it has been closed, but.
Can individuals or communities call and ask you to put out the ropes or the trailer in their neighborhoods? Can they request it, or do you have to just get enough phone calls for that
No,
area?
they can request it. We'll put the tubes out. Typically what we like to do is put the tubes out so that we get an idea of we'll put them out for like 7 days because that's the battery life for these things. Get an idea what the speeds are. And then we'll go follow up with the education piece of the trailer, the speed trailer. So now people are getting a visual as to what their speeds are. And then we'll follow up with traffic enforcement. So, we have a 3-pronged approach that we can deal with this. Again, the challenge is getting our bodies out there. Because sometimes we'll get very specific times. We've had calls where they're very specific. They know the vehicles, they know the times, and they know the dates. And that's great for us because then we can really focus in on where we need to address this. Sometimes we get the, hey, speeders on Sunset doing 80 miles an hour, at night, because we hear them. By their exhaust, we know how fast they're going. So that's a challenge for us. We can't sit up from 6 to 10
Sure.
and listen for loud cars. So, when we have these calls and we have some specific things that we can address, and tubes are great for us.
Do you ever, so when the tubes go in or the trailers go in and but traffic is generally okay, like 25, 23 miles an hour, people calling, they're like, you're going really fast, people are going really fast. Do you go out and re-educate the community of like, hey, here's what we've done, here's how we're trying to service you or meet your needs, here's what we found, that people are going 23 miles an hour.
Yes, so when we run those tubes, we get all that data, we can print it out, and typically we'll follow up with the initial complaint. And if they want it all, we'll give them the data, we can give it to them verbally, whatever they want, so they can say, we don't have anything to hide on that, so they're welcome to see what we're looking at. It is a good tool for us to identify, the timeframes of when there may be the highest potential of speeders. Again, I'll follow back over here on like Houston and Lindley. We put tubes out there a few times, trying to follow up and trying to focus in on that. It's always the morning commute because we know that's a cut through. Early morning they get out to Roy Rogers, and early evening they come off of Roy Rogers to get back through here, and a lot of it's, as we found from Photo Red Light, is a lot of it's the transient population going to and from. Our tickets to Sherwood citizens, and I'm only talking off the Photo Red Light, is very low. Although you would believe, sometimes believe that, it's everybody in Sherwood's got a ticket.
Right.
But statistically, the numbers show that it's very low numbers that Sherwood residents are being cited. It's just a lot of, we have 99 Ohio Highway that goes right through the middle of our city, so, they disperse to Beaverton, to Hillsborough, to Newburgh, to Tigard, wherever they're gonna go to Walton, so.
Have you ever thought about putting that data on social media? Like, hey, we just got done doing these targeted whatever, and here's the data that we collected.
We haven't,
That might help with transparency in what you guys are doing and how you're trying to help. But I don't know what is in the data and what you can and can't share.
there's nothing secret in there, because there's no identifying of people, it's just purely data.
It might just help with perception, is
Yeah.
what I'm thinking.
So one of the things that we've done, and just recently in the last year, and Angie, correct me if I'm wrong, we did a crosswalk sting, and we publicized it prior to. We're going to be out enforcing crosswalk violations on such and such dates. I believe we had 2 dates in the last one, and even I want to say we even gave the locations where we're going to be. We're not trying to be sneaky here.
Sure.
We're out here, we want people to be aware of pedestrians and paying attention, that if they're standing at the curb line and they step off, that you have an obligation. You have to stop there. That you don't get to choose and they get to wait. So that was one of the things we've done. Obviously, Redflex, we kind of just speaks for itself, so we don't talk about that much, but I think it's a good idea to maybe get some of that out there in a way that's not overwhelming.
Sure.
And I don't know exactly what that looks like, because sometimes we'll do these pages. Maybe you'd be like, yeah,
I
like
know,
the data.
definitely.
To somebody going through a social media site really
Right.
quickly, maybe we'll pick the highlights.
I just think especially now since traffic seems to be such a hot button, especially on social media, it might just be interesting to see how people react to that kind of data being given to them, even if it's just in small chunks that are really digestible.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you guys feel, but I would be happy to share that stuff with the Sherwood pages that I'm on. Just as another means to get it out.
Can I ask a question to Taylor?
Yes.
What kind of information is valuable to the teenage driver that can have an impact on them? If we were, what is it that would make you stop from scrolling and go, I don't want to read that?
Red lights definitely is one because from teenage drivers, misjudging of yellow lights is very common, and that might raise some awareness of judging your yellow lights and whether you should go through an intersection or not. Because I've been in a car and I've seen multiple people where they misjudged a yellow light. They didn't get a ticket for it because it wasn't a camera light, but they misjudged it anyways. So maybe putting something up like that, because that's just helpful for future driving. And then texting is definitely a problem. I know recently the assembly that was done, the skid
Skid,
assembly,
yeah.
that did have an impact. There's people talking about that in the school a lot. Then I have a parent who's a first responder, so I'm a little bit not as sensitive to it, but because I hear other stories, but I know some kids who don't have any experience with that, and that left an impact on them. So maybe doing something, not maybe in that drastic of a thing, but maybe doing something related to texting and driving.
Like a more visual display, is that what you're
Yeah,
saying? In
maybe.
terms of like this is the actual impact.
Yeah. Because the skid assembly did make an impact on a lot of kids, especially the younger ones who weren't even driving yet.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's the one where they made the impact on the freshmen and sophomores especially, because they haven't been driving yet, and I think that's prevention techniques for when they do get their license or permit, to be conscious about that.
Thank you.
All right, so we don't necessarily want to move forward with an online survey, but we still want to collect feedback from the community. So do we want to talk about it at the next meeting, different methods that we want to consider? Do we want to talk about it now and then engage the rest of the group?
Probably at the next meeting, I suggest that we talk about what we want to find out. Just an open-ended question, what do you think about traffic safety in Sherwood? I think you need to be a little more specific. What are we trying to get to here? And find out what they think ought to be done.
Specifically about traffic or about other things?
About traffic.
Well, about
About
traffic
traffic.
in this case.
So it sounds like we want to focus our community efforts on gathering information about traffic, what people are concerned about. All right, so let's put that on the agenda for the next meeting. Sound good? Okay. Anything else for A, B, or C under number 5, new business? We want to talk about?
I'd like to follow up with Ty for a minute.
Yeah.
I know you asked Taylor what she thought the high school students would be interested in hearing about. I, as an observer of that intersection right in front of the high school on a fairly regular basis, I'd like to see some education for younger drivers about proper etiquette when you're trying to turn through an intersection. Because I've come up on that intersection quite often, been there at the red light, and when my light turns green, I can't go anywhere because there's a teen driver stuck in the middle of the intersection, waiting, because they didn't want to wait their turn at the light, they wanted to push it, and so they're hanging out in the middle of the intersection blocking traffic.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Lori. It's really bad, especially in the mornings.
Well, so, I mean, there's so many components. 12th and Sherwood Road inherently backs up from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. And we have people that run the center median all day long. And for us to try and get out and force that is very difficult because we got to be sitting somewhere where we can get crossing traffic and catch them. But I see it on a regular basis. And that's another education piece that people become, I guess, complacent in the fact that there are potentially people that are actually following along, waiting until they can get into that turnout lane. And we've had accidents where people assume they have the right of way, and here comes somebody barreling up. The intersection, when, yeah, technically you're not supposed to even cross the line until you have the right way to turn, but everybody then starts creeping out, open to go. And then everything changes on them, and
Yeah, you get stuck out there.
yeah, so it's never ending. It's going to be, to your survey, it's going to be who sees what when they're on the road. I mean, you're going to probably get stuff that's, they're dealing with